Today I want to break down something psychological about humans, and this is going to help us with tinnitus and hopefully to suffer less. So if we can break this down, I think we can understand why some people go on to live better lives than before they had tinnitus, and other people stay stuck in the tinnitus loop for decades. So I'm going to attempt to explain this. What you have to understand is that most people live inside their heads. What I mean by this is people will be eating, but they won't be fully aware with the food, the sensations, the aroma of the food. They'll be scrolling on their phone. They'll be thinking of other things. When I get done eating, I have to send this email and blah, blah, blah. The kids are screaming this and that. So people will be literally eating a pizza on their phone, scrolling or thinking about other things. So they're not fully engaged with the reality of eating food. Now, let's broaden this out and let's apply this to driving a car. Let's apply this to spending time with your family, being on vacation. I see when I'm at the resorts, what do I see people doing? Scrolling on their phone, at the very least thinking about other things. So they're physically in reality, but mentally they're inside their thoughts. That's right. So that's why meditation is so hard for people, because meditation is the act of sitting there and like focusing on something that's real. Like if I were to sit here, close my eyes and focus on the birds, I would be I would be getting my awareness out of my head and inside of reality. I would be grounding myself to reality by focusing on the colors I see or the birds or all this other stuff. That takes a lot of work. It's not easy. That's why most people don't even try and meditate. Most people just default back into their thoughts, and that's where they live the majority of their life, and people live and die inside their heads. Right? A lot of people are like, I'm inside my mind. Everyone's inside their head now. Literally, that's what social media does to you. That's what scrolling does to you. That's what outrage culture, society trained you to do is always be anticipating, looking for the next thing. Either regret your past or hope for something in the future. But here's the funny thing is that future never really arrives. So when I mean when Immanuel Kant says your thoughts make up your reality, that's what he's meaning. He's not saying that your thoughts create the trees. That's not what he's saying. He's saying that most people don't live where the trees are at. They like they're physically there, but they're mentally they're inside their thoughts, looping inside their own mind. And everyone sadly is missing out on reality because they're inside their head. So how do we apply this to tinnitus, and how do we use this as a cure for tinnitus? Well, if you can understand that most people are inside their thoughts, and if take for example someone's thoughts, maybe they're very victim mindset. There's always someone else to blame. Things are never their fault. There's never a cure. Nothing's ever good enough. There's never any hope. It's just that they're always gravitating towards pessimistic outlook on life, and they've been that way forever. Well, what makes you think something's going to change if they come up with tinnitus? That's going to carry over into tinnitus, and they're going to have a higher likelihood of being stuck in the tinnitus loop. On the flip side, if you take someone who is always staying positive, looking for ways to better their life, always trying to improve, always hopeful, maybe this will work, and maybe that will work, and no matter what happens, they're always trying to better their lives, find a solution, be positive, be optimistic, taking accountability, being responsible for that. Well, then that person, when they come up to tinnitus, that's going to carry over, and they're going to be in a higher likelihood of recovery. So when you understand that it comes down to how a person fundamentally operates, like their operating system inside their head. How do they operate? How do they interact with the world? How do they see themselves? And it's very tough to take the victim mindset person, the person who is entitled, a victim, nothing's ever good enough, nothing can work, everything sucks, you can't tell me what I've done, I've suffered, my identity is suffering, all of this stuff. It's very hard for them to have an identity shift and to come into the other bracket, because people would rather suffer than have an identity shift. And when you realize that, you understand, oh, it's not the sound, it's It's the person and how they relate to the sound, and how they are able to can they make space with it, or are they going to fight it? Are they entitled? Do they need life to go their way, be perfect? Or can they roll with the punches? Do they understand? Are they aware of what reality is? Reality is not everything's going to be your way. You can't control anything. Sometimes things aren't perfect. Sometimes things beyond your control can happen. Pain happens, terror happens, beauty happens. This is life. And if you're expecting a place where you can just control everything and be in control of everything, you're going to be very, very, you're going to have a hard time, especially with tinnitus. So what I would recommend someone do is if they're in that category, usually they're probably not going to have enough awareness to recognize this. They'll just watch a video like this and they'll just hate comment, and that'll be the end of it. And they'll just continue spiraling and suffering until they die. That's usually how those people end up going. And so unless something can crack them out of that, like an awakening or maybe a near-death experience or something, it usually takes something very profound to make the shift to get someone from that bracket into the other. And then it's not just one or the other. There's a whole, it's like a dimmer, and people can be in the dimmer. They could be more towards, open-minded and enlightened, or they can be more closed off. And they can, I'm sure that if you really thought and were honest, you could probably figure out where you're at in that category. I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's just different operating systems. I think that one helps you overcome hardships easier. I would think that if you're a more bendable person, you're going to bend before you break. But I understand why a lot of people are in that category. I get it. Especially with the society we grew up, especially with the West, man. You're literally forced into two camps. There's your political parties, good versus evil. Everything is binary. But we live in a world of color. We don't live in a world of black and white. So not everything's that easy, right? That's why I said it's like a dimmer, right? There you go. This all the way over here and that all the way over there. So what I would suggest you do is try and figure out what kind of person you are. Where do you kind of tend to land? If you're able to have enough insight in that, and begin thinking, how can I become a person that is more in this category? It's going to probably require an identity shift, which is going to be painful. It might requiring you to have to let go of a lot of things you thought were true that might not be true. You might have to question a lot of things you thought you knew, but that's called growth. We all have to do that when we grow up. And I think the world's at a place where people don't want to grow up anymore. They want to stay adolescents. They want to stay in what they know. But I mean, you got to ask yourself, like, what kind of world is that? We would want to hope that everyone could eventually move into a category where we could overcome anything and we could stay hopeful in difficult situations. And that's what I tried to do. That's what I tried to instill, and that's what I tried to teach. But after working with tons of tinnitus sufferers and building this application to help people, I have seen that the people that recover and the people that don't have certain personality traits and certain mindsets. And I would be lying if I said that weren't the case. So anyway, if you want to try the tinnitus app, go to tinnitus.health, put that in any web browser, sign up below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to smash the like button, share this video with as many people as you can. I'll talk to you later. Peace.